Attention all F1 fans, welcome to F1 Max. On today's episode, we'll explore an interesting dynamic that's being played out on the track. The heat is on at Red Bull and F1 Max is here to bring you all the high-octane drama. After back-to-back 1-2 victories, tensions are rising between teammates and even Max's dad isn't joining in on the celebrations. Are we about to witness a Red Bull fight in the most famous Bull ring? It's all up for grabs this season, so fasten your seatbelts and get ready for a thrilling ride with F1 Max. It seemed a certainty that Max Verstappen would claim pole position when we got to qualifying in Jeddah. But his Red Bull car had an unexpected drivetrain problem, meaning it did not complete a lap in qualifying after Q1. This put the Dutchman in 15th for the race and made things very interesting for the rest of qualifying. It was his teammate Sergio Perez who claimed pole position in Max's absence, with Fernando Alonso alongside him on the front row. Thankfully for Max, the drivetrain issue did not affect his race, and he showed just how fast the Red Bull really is. Verstappen used that 1 second advantage to cruise through the field. Max made it look like I could have made some overtakes in that Red Bull car. All of those overtakes meant Max Verstappen moved up to second place with 25 laps of the race remaining, and his teammate holding just a 6-second lead over him. This is usually the recipe for a Max Verstappen victory, but not this time. Incredibly, Max barely closed the gap on his teammate in those final 25 laps. By the end of the race, Sergio still held a gap of more than 5 seconds in front of his teammate, with it actually ending up as a pretty simple drive for the Mexican. What F1 fans might forget is that Sergio Perez is a master of street circuits. Perez seems to excel when the danger is at its highest. His win in Jeddah means Perez now has 5 victories in Formula 1, and 4 of those has come at a street circuit, with his maiden win in Bahrain being the odd one out. Sergio's pace meant Red Bull did not have to worry about the teammates fighting each other on track. Red Bull were able to cruise to the end, and that is certainly a good thing considering some of the comments from after the race. After the race, Sergio Perez was asked about the team cruising towards the end, and he made it seem as though Red Bull's position at the front might have been a bit more at risk. Perez said, "Well, reliability is where it is. We saw it today with Aston Martin. It's going to hit us at some point, but obviously we need to keep working on that." In that same interview, Perez gave a little bit of insight into how concerned the team are about those reliability issues. Sergio added, "We need to reduce races with issues whenever we can. We were in a lucky position in Bahrain, but otherwise, if we had to push to the end, we probably wouldn't make the end of the race." So there are a lot of reliability concerns at the moment, but hopefully they don't hit us anytime soon. These reliability concerns showed in qualifying, with Max unable to set a lap in Q2. What scared Red Bull fans in the race is that it seemed like the problem that had cut his qualifying short could have cut the Dutchman's race short as well. Once Max had gotten into second, he said on the team radio, "I feel like the drive shaft is running a bit rough." The team got back to him as they were not concerned about the issue, saying it was something minor with the brake balance. But Max did not believe him and kept on complaining about the car having issues at high speed. As if that wasn't enough for Red Bull, they then had Sergio Perez saying he had a long brake pedal, but this issue clearly did not affect him in the long run. Red Bull would have been pretty worried about the reliability issues, and so they used a commonly used strategy, which is to give their drivers target lap times. Sergio was more than happy to comply, but the same cannot be said for his teammate. Max's race engineer, Gianpiero Lambiase, had the difficult job of trying to get Max to do a 1:33, when he continued to lap at 1:32.6. Verstappen did not reply on the radio. In fact, at one point, Lambiase said, "Max, can you target 1:33, please?" Not the sort of thing you'd usually have to plead with your driver to do. In the end, pushing the cars did not affect the final result, but Red Bull don't want reliability issues from pushing the cars when they don't need to. When it became clear to Max that he was not going to be able to catch, he instead turned his attention to the other way he could increase his points. With 5 laps remaining of the race, Max asked his team, "What's the fastest lap?" Red Bull must have been thrilled to hear that, not long after Max ignored their message about hitting a target lap time. Once again, Lambiase was pretty clear, saying, "We're not worried about it right now, Max." Max replied with, "No, but I am." It is clear that there was no way Verstappen was just going to cruise to the finish line. Lambiase did eventually reply with 32.1, 32.1. Max would have definitely known that it was Sergio who had the fastest lap, considering how insanely fast the Red Bulls were all weekend. So quietly, without really mentioning anything to his team, Max plotted his way to take that point away from Sergio. On the final lap of the race, when Sergio would not have a chance to reply, Max pushed the car to the very limit and put in a 1:31.9 to steal the fastest lap of the race and add another point to his tally. You could look at this as Max being a bit petty and clearly upset that his teammate beat him to the checkered flag. But Verstappen just wants to get as many points from a race weekend as possible. With Perez showing he has the pace to hold off Verstappen, there could be cracks starting to show for Red Bull. It has been clear the last few years that Sergio was brought in to be the second driver, helping the team and Max to win both titles. That would usually make his teammate relationship pretty easy to handle if there is a number 1 driver and a number 2 driver. But Perez could be about to upset that relationship. In 2016, we saw what happened when 2 teammates went head-to-head for the title. This season it could be similar, in that Mercedes had a pace advantage over the field in 2016, the same as Red Bull. While the Mercedes fighting in 2016 did not cost the team any titles, Red Bull won't want Perez and Verstappen clashing on track. Christian Horner could already be getting horrible flashbacks to Baku in 2018. Max has already crashed with a teammate, and that was when the Red Bulls were nowhere near the title fight. Think about how much the pressure has ramped up now. A title fight like this could lead to Red Bull having to make some tough decisions, and that is what a former F1 team owner said the team has already done. After the race in Saudi Arabia, former F1 team owner Eddie Jordan said something very interesting about a possible Red Bull strategy from the race. Jordan said, "I am a bit concerned because under normal circumstances, Max Verstappen would have won the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I think there was an agreement to let Sergio Perez win the race if he had pole and led the race the whole time." Jordan believed that Max was not allowed to fight for the win, saying, "What would happen to the team if they didn't let Perez win? If I was Checo, I would not have let Verstappen pass." I think it was agreed that if Verstappen made it to second and Perez was still first, he would let him win the race. It's not a completely far-fetched theory. The last thing that Red Bull would have wanted was for their drivers to crash into each other while fighting for the lead. Jeddah is a difficult track to race, and I'm sure Sergio would not have relinquished the lead of the race very easily. Things could have gone horribly wrong for Red Bull, and they were already having reliability concerns. Some sort of agreement would have helped the team bring the cars home safely without any fighting. The possibility of beef between the Red Bull teammates is not a new thing. Checo hitting the wall at the end of qualifying in Monaco last year led to a lot of questions about whether the Mexican crashed on purpose to start ahead of his teammate for the race. We never got any conclusive evidence that the crash which red flagged Q3 in Monaco last year was on purpose, but it did certainly help Perez eventually win the race. There is no way that these two aren't going to tangle on the track at some point, and Max has made it very clear he's not happy with second place. After the race, the reigning world champion said, "I recovered to second, which is good, and in general the whole feeling in the team is happy. But personally, I'm not happy. I'm not here to be second, especially when you're working very hard back at the factory to come here in a good state and make sure everything is spot on." The most interesting part of these comments is that Max also said, "We are allowed to race, so the best man will finish in front." Usually, you'll see teams tell their drivers they're not allowed to race each other, especially when that team is fighting for the Constructors' Championship. But by the sounds of it, we might actually get to see the Red Bull teammates fighting it out on track. Do you think that we will actually see the Red Bulls fighting each other this season? Or will the team have to step in to separate Max and Checo? Put your thoughts in the comments below. While you're down there, why not hit the like button and subscribe? Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.